Now let's take a look at some of the standards and control frameworks that we need to know for the exam. And for the exam, understand what they are, how they work, but you do not need to know how to implement them. First up, we have the PCI DSS standard. And we will cover this one more in depth later when we look at laws and regulations and standards. But it is a standard that the payment card industry uses for those who wants to issue or handle credit cards. And while it is a standard, it is also required. All the big companies that issue credit cards have made this standard, and they have made it pretty rigorous because they don't want the government to come in and make a law. If they keep the standard strong and ensure that everybody who issues credit cards adhere to it, and if they don't, they get punished or get banned from issuing credit cards, if they do a good job, it is very likely that the government won't come in and change it. Then we have OCTAVE, Operationally Critical Threat, Asset, and Vulnerability Evaluation. And really, the key word here is it is self-directed risk management. It is a team-oriented approach where we go in and assess the organizational and IT risks in facilitated workshops. For most of these, I would suggest you go and look a little more at it, but probably for the exam, this is the level of knowledge that you need. COBIT, Control Objectives for Information and Related Technology. And if you look at the name, it has IT at the end. That is a good indicator. It is goals for the IT organization. We take our stakeholders' needs and then map them down into IT-related goals. COBIT has 4 domains, and when we get into project management later in the course, you will recognize the flow. First off, we plan and organize. Then we acquire and implement. We deliver and support. And then we monitor and evaluate. And each of those categories then have subcategories. For the exam though, COBIT, goals for IT, we take our stakeholders' needs and then map those into IT-related goals. And do not confuse COBIT with COSO. COSO has an O at the end. It is goals for the entire organization, Committee of Sponsoring Organizations. And COBIT was developed from COSO just to make it specifically for the IT organization. And since COSO is for the entire organization, it's a higher level picture, more of a strategic point of view. And COSO also have domains, or as they call it, components. They have control environments, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and then monitoring. For the exam, I would just know it is for the entire organization, and it is at a higher strategic level where COBIT focuses more on an operational level, which then brings us to ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library. I don't think I have ever heard anyone call it by its full name. It's always just ITIL. And ITIL is IT Service Management. And what that means is that it's a set of frameworks and best practices that we use to align our IT services with the business's needs. You have probably been in IT for a while, and you understand how important processes are, because processes ensures that we have repeatable outcomes. And that is exactly what ITIL is. We have specific processes for change, release, and configuration management, on incident and problem management, capacity and availability management, and IT financial management. And all these practices give us a starting point where our organization can develop the program that specifically is going to work in our organization, because every single organization needs something different. And then finally, we have FRAP, Facilitated Risk Analysis Process. And here we are very focused. We focus on one business unit, one application, or one system at a time, and we do a roundtable brainstorm with internal employees. We analyze the impacts, the threats, and the risks are prioritized. And this can help us later when we do proper risk analysis. We have identified what is critical, what is important, where we need to focus, and what is not. And it is a relatively inexpensive way to start off the risk analysis, find out where we need to focus, and it is important that we have someone that can lead the effort that has great facilitation skills. And as the last of the standards and frameworks in this section, Let's look at the ISO 27000 series. First off, we have ISO 27001. It provides specific requirements on how we establish, implement, control, and improve our ISMS, Information Security Management Systems. It uses PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act, and it is something that our organization can be certified in. And the reason an organization might choose to be ISO 27001 certified is probably similar to why you are getting your certification. We're showing our customers or whoever we do business with that we adhere to industry best practices, and IT security is something we take seriously. Which then brings us to 27002. And 27002 is way more in depth than 27001. It is the practical advice that we need so we can implement 27001. It has 10 domains that we use for information security management systems. This is not something we can be certified against. This is the practical implementation. Then we have 27004. This gives us metrics where we can measure how successful our ISMS is. 27005 is a standard-based approach to risk management, and 27799 focuses on PHI, Protected Health Information. And it is protected health information. It is not private, it is not personal, it is protected. And now that we have looked at those standards and control frameworks, let's look at another topic that is super important: defense in depth. You will probably also hear it referred to as layered defense or an onion defense. And it all makes sense. Defense in depth, layered defense, onion defense. Every time you peel one layer away, there's another defense there, and another, and another. And what that practically means is we implement multiple overlapping security controls to protect a certain asset. And that is both physical, logical, and administrative controls. If I want to get to a certain server, physically be able to touch it, I might have to go through a locked door to get into the building. I might have to go through a security guard when I get close to the data center. There might be a badge swipe at the data center. There might be a locked cabinet. There might be a login screen on the server. All of these by themselves don't offer that much protection. But when you have all of them, then there's the layered defense. They complement each other and makes it harder for anyone who wants to get to the data that isn't allowed to. So that example was physical access. But what if it's logical access? Same thing applies here. To get to the data that you want, an attacker might have to go through IPSs or IDSs, firewalls, routers, switches, servers, applications. All of these have security built in that by themselves might not be enough. But if there's another layer and another layer and another layer, it's much harder to get to what they want. And that really is your job in IT security. You need to protect your assets, but you need to do it where it makes sense. You need exactly enough security. No more, no less. If you have too much, well then we waste money on protection that we don't need. If we have too little, well then we're underprotected and our assets are in danger. If I have the $10,000 we talked about earlier in my house or in my apartments, well, how do I protect that? Again, same thing. Overlapping defenses that complement each other. In Hawaii, for instance, I lived in a condo. They had security guards that would walk the perimeter and around on the lot where we lived. There was a key fob at the elevator. If you did not have the key fob, you could not go to your floor. Then obviously I have a lock on my door. Let's say I did have that $10,000 there, then I might choose to have a safe or a security camera or something else, whatever would make financial sense to protect the asset that I have. And when we have those multiple overlapping security controls, then we improve our organization's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And I am probably going to keep saying this. You're not going to get definition questions on the exam. You're not going to get, listen this, what is this standard? That's not how it works. You're going to get a question where it says, here's a scenario. What do we do first? What is best? What is least? What is the next step in this situation? And you then From the 4 options, pick the most appropriate answer. And also keep in mind that they may not use the exact words that you're used to seeing. This is very much an English exam. You might see something where they mention that it is a specific or targeted. Well, that could mean that is FRAP maybe. That could be one business unit, application, or system. Then you look at the rest of the question. Is there something where it sounds like they're analyzing the impact, looking at threats, and prioritize the risks? And this is part of your exam training. You need to train yourself when you read a question to analyze it. Okay, this part, that could be this part, that could be that. Then from these keywords and indicators, what is the best answer here? And it is possible to have 2 or more correct answers. What is most correct in this specific instance? And remember, drop what you're used to doing. Don't think in your normal mindset. Think in the exact same mindset that the exam wants you to be in. Remember who you are and what your role is in the organization. And with that, let's move on to the next topic.